You know, we're told not to be afraid of the dark, and that's fine, but it's the unidentified beasts or creatures hiding out there in the dark that can give us the outright jim jams. So with that in mind, let's check out some creatures that only seem to come out at night. Here are 12 bizarre nocturnal cryptids. Number 12. Nightcrawler. Now this creature is also known as the Fresno alien and has appeared in that California city in addition to Yosemite National Park. Reports indicate it's a pale, slender humanoid that stands around 4 feet tall, but it has no discernible arms. Some witnesses have remarked that it wears a type of cloak or gown. It's claimed by some local indigenous peoples that these creatures have been on Earth for quite a while after arriving here from a swamp-like world. They view nightcrawlers as beings that are benevolent to humankind and will help assist in strengthening the connection between humans and nature. Number 11. Moon-eyed people. Sightings of these creatures often take place after dark. They're said to be around the size of dwarves, were located in North Carolina, and were said to live underground. They appear in various Native American legends and are named for the large, round eyes. And it's speculated that those enormous peepers might be the result of the creatures living in the darkness for most of their lives. Number 10. Strigoi. They hail from Slavic countries like Romania and Croatia, and they might be better described as entities that resemble vampires. They're said to haunt villages at night, and their fearsome appearance leaves for a lasting impression. The creatures have indigo eyes and crimson hair. Upon rising from the graves after sundown, they'll hunt down animals for the blood, which they suck from the beasts in a vampire-like fashion. The creatures are also known to transmogrify into spirits or animals after the nightly feast. And did you know there are actually guidelines for those who wish to join the ranks of the Strigoi? Some recommendations include leading a troubled life and/or dying an unnatural death. You can find out more requirements online, that's if you really want to. Number 9. Ratman of Southend. This creature has its origins in Essex in the UK, specifically the town of Southend-on-Sea. While most accounts agree this is a rat-like creature that appears around underpasses and walkways at night, there seem to be two variants to the story. The most common version alleges that the Ratman is the ghost of an old man who once lived in an underpass. After he was beaten to death by teenagers, numerous vermin arrived to eat of his flesh. Not long after, strange noises were reported by locals. They could hear the sound of nails dragging along the walls, and more troubling was the sound of high-pitched squealing. Those noises led to the creature being called the Ratman. Now, the other version involves the Ratman being a type of mutant. As it goes in this take, the creature has a rat-like snout and tail, and is the misshapen offspring of a local administrative official who keeps his child hidden at the underpass. So, which version do you think works better? Number 8. The Devil Bird. Now this cryptid is also known as the Yulama in Sri Lanka and is claimed to produce human-like blood-curdling screams at night in the jungle. The bird's cry is said to be an omen that portends death according to Sri Lankan folklore. Now the exact identity of the bird, well, that has been one of the great mysteries in Ceylonese jungles, as it usually goes unseen. But the bird's identity may be close to being revealed, as several potential candidates have been found to closely match the cryptid's description. In 2001, the spot-bellied eagle owl was found to closely match the Yulama's description, even possessing an approximation of the devil bird's characteristic screech and tufted horns. The owl's discovery was thought to solve the mystery, but many people still think this is not the exact creature legend. Number 7. Flatwoods Monster. This bizarre creature appeared one night in Flatwoods, West Virginia in 1952. It didn't seem to hang around for so long, but it definitely made a lasting impression. A group of locals claimed they saw a bright object that landed in a nearby field after falling from the sky. Now that's where the witnesses were first introduced to this monster. By most accounts, it ranged in height up to some 10 feet tall. Its body seemed to be covered with some sort of exoskeleton that was composed of a dark metal. It could have been some sort of armor. Eyes that glowed green were set within its diamond-shaped head. When onlookers saw the creature glide toward them from a pulsing red light, they panicked and fled. That scene was later analyzed by local police, and they reported finding long tracks set in the mud, along with traces of a thick black liquid. Some sources took that as evidence that a UFO had landed and that a close encounter had taken place. Number 6. Capalobo. Sightings have been reported in Brazil, although at least part of this creature's existence is traced to mythological roots. Now, it's a bizarre beast, described as having both a humanoid and animal form. In the latter form, they resemble tapirs, with coats of shaggy black fur and a snout similar to that of an anteater. The humanoid version is also said to be matted with hair, but they have the head of an anteater, bulletproof skin, and they stand some 7 feet high at least. Another notable characteristic is the creature's foul stench, which causes it to be surrounded by clouds of flies. The creatures are known to be nocturnal predators, although humans are not necessarily on the menu. Capalobo prefer to dine on dogs and goats. But should they have a taste for human cuisine, they will grab the victim in a vice-like grip and suck out the brains through the top of the head. Bon appetit. Number 5. Nandi bear. While this ferocious carnivore makes its home in East Africa, its name is actually derived from the Nandi culture found in western Kenya. In fact, it goes by several names, including the Kimasit. Standing up to 6 feet tall, it has a build similar to that of a hyena, with a sloping back and front shoulders that are high-set and powerful. Sightings of this beast have been reported by natives for ages. It was first documented by explorers in the 1900s. Descriptions agreed that the Nandi bear had a thick coat of fur that ranged in color from reddish-brown to dark, and was noted for its behavior of standing up on its hind legs when confronting intruders. Tracks left behind by the critter measure around 9 inches long and indicate the presence of 5 toes. It will generally attack humans on the darkest, moonless nights. As the local legends tell it, the bear only likes to eat the brains of its victims. It's never been caught by hunters, but reports of the Nandi bear still persist today. Number 4. Goatman. Sightings of this cryptid have been reported most often in Maryland, Louisiana, and Texas. Said to be a hybrid of goat and man, it stands around 7 feet tall and is known to have a nasty disposition. We found a few variations to Goatman's backstory. Some sources connect the animal to the satyrs found in ancient Greek mythology. A more modern explanation states that the beast is actually a farmer who lost his sanity when some teenagers attacked and killed his flock of goats, and that led him on a mission of revenge against any teenager or young person. Now, that does actually kind of tie in to Goatman's habit of killing younger couples in parked cars and to breaking into homes to assault the people inside. But it's the theory involving a U.S. Department of Agriculture facility in Maryland that might be the most dramatic. In this variation, a scientist was performing some sort of genetic experiments on a goat. Then, well, something went wrong. The goat's DNA fused with that of the scientist to create a humanoid beast with a nasty temper and a compulsion for murder. Number 3. Werewolves. One of the best-known examples of human-animal hybrids, lycanthropes usually acquire their affliction by being bitten or scratched by a werewolf or by having a curse placed upon them. In some cases, they can shapeshift into an actual wolf or transform into a type of human-wolf hybrid like we often see in those Wolfman movies. Legends about the werewolf are thought to have started sometime in the Middle Ages in Europe, but shapeshifters not unlike werewolves can be found in stories from across the world. Number 2. Mothman. Now, this one is pretty legendary and has stoked the imagination of cryptozoologists and the public for decades. And even though he's not always seen at night, the first reports of him did take place after dark. In 1966, several men digging a grave in Clendenin, West Virginia, saw a human-like figure flying low in the nearby trees. The largest number of sightings occurred in Point Pleasant, near an abandoned munitions area. When 2 young couples were driving one night, they said they encountered a strange human-like creature that stood some 7 feet high and had glowing red eyes centered in its chest, with wings folded back against its back. The couples raced off, but the creature's wings unfolded and it flew down the highway in pursuit of them at speed said to exceed some 100 miles per hour. The Mothman later gave up the chase and vanished. But there were more than 100 sightings reported for over a year after that. By most accounts, Mothman had a darker coloration with a 15-foot wingspan. Now, in 1967, the Silver Bridge collapsed and sightings of the creature stopped. That spurred some speculation that it might have somehow been involved with that catastrophe. What do you think? Number 1. vampires. Now here is a very familiar name, and most likely the most famous nocturnal creatures on our list. As you know, these undead creatures feed on blood to survive, specifically to keep them from decomposing, and they're known for having a plethora of awesome powers and abilities, like super strength, mind control, turning into mist, and of course, transforming into bats. To even things out, vampires are weakened by garlic, silver, and holy water. Of course, the novel Dracula by Bram Stoker helped provide the definitive interpretation of the vampire legend. Published in 1897, Stoker actually based his book on the true story of Vlad Tepes, who was also known as Vlad Dracula. The Romanian prince lived during the 15th century and was known for exhibiting extreme cruelty toward his enemies. He was called Vlad the Impaler since he enjoyed that form of execution so dearly. While Vlad was said to have been killed in battle in 1477, Dracula and vampires continued to live on, as much as the undead can actually live anyway.